And that was kind of a bonus thing that's not in the documentation. But one thing that is, that uses similar techniques, is the bottom surface here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this here and temporarily, you can kind of ignore this if you want, I'm going to re-dynamesh these things and then go into solo mode here, hold down Control Shift, turn off X, hold down Alt with Control Shift, and then do a quick delete hidden. And I'm just going to kind of take these back down to what would have been, let's go ahead and just do a clip brush, hold down Control Shift. I'm just going to clip these treads off because we're going to make those treads. And now these treads aren't even something that I would have blocked in. So when I did my form refine, it would have looked something like this. And I go ahead and dynamesh this, hold down Shift and smooth. Oh, and it's not very responsive because I have dynamic turned on for a very high resolution mesh. So make sure, I'm going to go to Smooth Stronger, which we've already talked about in a previous video, where to find that. It's in your comma key under your brushes, smooth. So now this is what my refined mesh would look like before I went through, I'll use H-Polish to kind of clean this up. There we go. Before I went and added treads. So something like this. So now if I want to add treads, all I need to do is go to BT, topology brush, and I'm going to do topology lines on the outside, inside, and then add the treads in the middle. This is going to be beautiful because, you know, again, demonstration purposes, you don't want to watch me sit here and do topology brushes for too long, but just really quickly, I'm going to make an outside line here for my treads, like so, and then I'm going to do an inside line. And then I'm just going to go across and start making, well, you know, whatever space you want your treads to be. I'll kind of leave that up to you. And if it doesn't quite hook up, try changing your camera view. I'm just dragging right across those lines. There we go. Now, again, if I give it thickness and I tap off, that's fine. I'm going to go ahead and make my brush size, hit S, draw size down to 1. And if it doesn't, sometimes when you do a draw size down to 1, it has a hard time clicking. Take your mouse and tap. It's a little bit more control. And then again, I'm going to do a subtool split unmask points. And now with my standard brush, let's go out of solo mode here. I can alt tap my geometry here, turn on polyframe, and now you can see that tread right where I want it. So now I'm going to isolate the bottom of the boot in that tread. So these two here, I'm going to turn off the eyeball with that selected. That's going to turn off all my subtools, hit the nameplate, and then tap the eyeball for that. So now I've got just these two subtools showing. So now I can go in here with my move brush, and if I want to, I can turn on transparent, and I can just kind of move these things into place. Now there's not a whole lot of resolution on this bottom, so my top part is a lot more rounded than my bottom part here, and that's okay, because what we're going to end up doing is giving myself more resolution. So I'm going to get these things into place here, match that outside curve, and, you know, go in here and straighten up these lines. And now what I'm going to do, if I go down here to geometry and I have the smooth modifier turned on and hit divide, it's going to average my vertices, which is fine around the sides, but not so much down here. So what I'm going to do is actually turn that off, hit divide, and now if I go into solo mode here and I go turn polyframe off, turn it on again, you're going to see there's new geometry resolution in here. So now what I can do is turn polyframe off and turn solo off. Actually, let's keep polyframe on. And I can go through here and I can just start moving these new points around just to kind of even the shape out. And I'm not overly concerned, but you know, get them close enough. And actually, one thing I forgot to do, let's go ahead and undo all that, is go ahead and simplify this a bit. So now we're back here to our regular one. Let's hold down, hover over face with your Z modeler brush, BZM. Hover over face, we're going to do delete a single poly. I'm going to delete every other polygon. Sorry, skipped a step. And now what I'm going to do is keep smooth off, hit divide, and you know, sometimes I like to get in the habit of just turning that back on. And then I'm going to do, well, I guess I don't need to delete lower just yet. So I'm going to go ahead and maneuver these things around and out just to kind of match that outer shape a little bit. And I don't even need to be that careful. You can be as careful as you want to be. Cool, so those match up pretty well. I'm going to go ahead and go hover over face, Q mesh. Let's just do all polygons and then just Q mesh out a brush. Now it's going to yell at me. You can't Q mesh something with subdivision history. Simply delete lower, and now it doesn't have subdivision history. Now I can do tank treads, or boot treads. Now, the more I pull these out, the thicker they're going to be, obviously, so just kind of move that out as thick as you want them to be. Turn off transparency, and now you've got your treads, right? But they're separate. Not a big deal. So what we're going to do is, let's go ahead and do a D, and that's what it's going to look like when we subdivide. Not exactly what I want. So I'm going to hit Shift D, and I'm going to go into my crease menu here, and I'm going to do a crease tolerance of like 50, hit crease, and now when you hit D, it'll go ahead and just keep those corners creased, which is kind of what I'm looking for. So Shift D to turn off dynamic. And you know what, before we merge these, let's go ahead and do Control D, which isn't going to do dynamic, it's actually going to give me actual subdivisions. Turn off polyframe. And now go in here and just kind of maneuver these things out. And if you need to, go into your transpose and just kind of push them up a little bit, because what we're going to do next is dynamesh these together. And if you have any gaps, it's going to try and dynamesh those gaps into the mesh. Not really what we want. So I'm basically going to go through here and just kind of maneuver these things around. Good enough. Hit Control D one more time, make them a little bit smoother. And now I've got my original sole here. I've got my new treads below them. I'm going to select the top one, go to Merge, Down. Okay. Merge these together. Now, because these were already previously dynameshed, I inherited those dynamesh properties from the original top subtool. So I can just Control Drag and that'll re-dynamesh everything. I can go in here with my smooth brush, smooth these together. If I want to, I can H polish and kind of polish up these transitions here really quickly. You know, do as much cleanup as you want to. And the more careful you are when you place these things, the less cleanup you'll have to do. You know, you'll just have to kind of judge that. I really don't care about this because it's a demo. But I'll get it somewhat nice, I suppose. Hold down Shift and smooth these out. I'm using Smooth Stronger, which we talked about. There we go. Good enough. I can go and H polish here. H polish those down. Now, of course, you're going to want to do that all the way around the heel as well. But once you get it to a certain point, right now it's 662,000 polygons. That's a little bit heavy for something that's just the bottom of your foot that may or may not ever be seen in game. So to keep my scene light, what I like to do is duplicate this off. Select the duplicate, go over here, or down here, I'm sorry, to Geometry, Z-Remesher, and let's do a target polygon count of like maybe 10. The depth of size pretty low. Again, the depth of size high is going to build in a lot of edge loops to maintain your surface integrity, your volumes and stuff. Low one is going to make it more quads. I kind of want more towards my quads here. And everything else looks fine, so I hit Z-Remesh. And if you want your Z-Remesh to go a little bit faster, one thing you can do is go up here to Z Plugin Decimation Master, Pre-Process Current, type in like 30 into the K polygons, hit Decimate, and then Z-Remesh. Z-Remesh is having a look at 662,000 polygons to Z-Remesh. If you decimate it down to 30, it has a lot less geometry to worry about. But once that's done, I can go into solo mode here. And you know what? That looks fine. You can try doing Z-Remesh, turn half on, and just hit Z-Remesh and see if that gives you anything worthwhile. If not, you can just go ahead and keep this one. But with both of these objects showing, I'm just really quickly going to do a project all. So with my lower res selected, my lower res Z-Remesh selected, and then my high res showing, I can project my Z-Remesh to my original high res. Don't need the original high res anymore, so select it and delete it. And now with this one selected, it may look a little bit crummy now, but hit D to turn on your Dynamesh preview, and you're going to see after you subdivide it, it's going to look fine. So again, we went from 662,000 down to, that was active points, those more polygons, down to 9,800 active points for the same look. So just something to keep in mind. So now we've got our new sole on there, and we'll keep going.